Takadosh Boker Or Bekiim Halacha 5 day 88 Siman Mem. This is Siman 40 page 237. We are on Halacha Tet number 9. We're talking about now dropping the tefillin if it's inside the kuracha, which means inside the bag, right? The tefillin bag, it fell. So im naflu tefillin biyotam toch kisam en tzrich litanot. You do not need to do a ta'anit. Eladai leteh pruta achat letzedakah. You just come, you give tzedakah. That's what's brought down in the Ben Ish Chai and the Kavachayim. Hamachmir litenav bezet tzedakah kishur suda achat tavo lebracha. Now, if you're going to come in, even on this, you're going to give the shiur of an entire suda, you get a heavenly blessing. It says over here, the Magen Avraham ruled that it is not necessary to fast if the tefillin were in the kuracha when they were dropped. But if someone dropped the Torah in its scroll, you do have to fast, right? The Rabbi Yisrael Brona, he comes in, testified that his teachers ruled that it is necessary to fast even if it was inside the kuracha. But he added personally, ruled more leniently, instructing people just to give a little bit amount of tzedakah. So he says the Kav HaChaim, Falachi also ruled simply that one should just give tzedakah without specifying any amount. It is clear from the way the halacha presented in the Ben Ish Chai that even a single coin is sufficient. But even so, it is certainly meritorious to follow the opinion of the Rav Yisrael Barona, right, and to give the amount of a seudah. The Hilchot Yosef, however, seems to say that if someone drops the tefillin inside of the kuracha, so he says with his tefillin inside of it, he should give the cost of one meal. No different if he dropped the tefillin himself. So again, the Hilchot Yosef is saying that you should give the amount of a full meal, whether it's inside the tefillin bag or without the tefillin bag. What about if you have the plastic tefillin covers? Meaning it's not in the bag, but you got the plastic covers on top. So before modern times, right, there were no plastic covers for tefillin. They would simply be stored in the kuracha when not being worn. The author of the Aderet Yaakov wondered whether it's necessary to fast if someone dropped that while it was closed in the plastic covers, but not in the kuracha. He pointed out, those are the books. Yeah. So he pointed out that the Rama ruled that it is permissible to go to sleep while holding the tefillin in a pouch, since even if they're dropped, they would not be disgraced. So Mishnah Berurah brings the Gaon Vilna. He says that since the pouch is at least 8 centimeters wide, it's considered a pasek, if you want to call it, between the ground and the tefillin. And this could not be said about plastic covers. We're on page 237 in Bekiim Halacha. Yeah, so he says, if so, it should be necessary to fast even if the tefillin were in their cases when dropped. So if you've got the tefillin and they dropped even inside of the cases, you should be fasting. The Piskei Teshuvah ruled that it is not necessary to fast if they were in their plastic cases were dropped. Okay? He says in practice, if someone drops the tefillin in the plastic case, he ought to give the meal worth. Again, the meal's worth, right? And not just a small coin, right? Because again, the coin would be if it's going to be inside the bag, but if it's just going to be the thing, so then that's something different. The Piskei Teshuvah pointed out, the Orchot Chaim, that the discussion about tefillin enclosed in plastic covers is on all sides. But if only the main cube is covered, so then it's unprotected. So then it's like the same thing that you always just have to fast a full meal. Halacha Yod. Halacha Yod says like this, right? What happens if the tefillin fell, but they fell on the table? Im lo naflu tefillin lagabe aretz mamash, el lagabe shulchan o safsal. So then he tends tzedakah. He's going to give tzedakah in such a case. What exactly causes tefillin to be disgraced? Whether they're going to be because they're dropped, right, or they fell to the ground, right? So if they fell out of your hands, so then again you should have the same halacha. And if you're going to tell me no, so it all depends on the circumstances. So he says the Mishpatei Shmuel, however, discusses halacha of someone who dropped his tefillin while saying that they were dropped to the ground. The Ben Ish Chai described the case of the tefillin that were dropped from a person's hand without going to the ground. Despite this, right, these poskim, they probably meant, right, he says that they fell to the ground. Okay, so therefore he wants to say, right, that you should just give tzedakah and that's it. Okay, since the practice of following is only a custom, all you have to do is if it fell onto a table or a chair, he says you just give tzedakah. You don't have to do anything else. Okay, halacha yod aleph. Im lo naflu atfilin biyado mamash, right? He says ela yaze alidei grama. What happens right now if it was only a grama, which means that, for example, the tefillin were inside of a cupboard, right? And all of a sudden, when you opened it, they fell. So it wasn't that you dropped the tefillin. It was a grama. It was caused that the tefillin dropped. So en tzarich leitanot. You do not need to fast whatsoever. Here it says this is the Rav Palim, the Ben Ish Chai. He speaks about a case we just spoke about if it fell inside of the tefillin cases, right? And we were speaking about if it fell with the protective covers, right? So basically today we just learned about all these halachot. One more time, right? If it falls inside the kuracha, which is inside the tefillin bag, if it falls with the plastic, if it falls on a table or a chair but not on the floor, and then what happens if it was a grama? Okay, these are all the different cases that we spoke about today. So here the Ben Ish Chai just comes and he says, in such a case where it was a grama, that he says even though he didn't drop it himself from his hands, he should still fast. That Rishon LeZion disagreed. And he wanted to say, no, that even by a Sefer Torah, it's only a custom. And therefore he says, because of that, in such a case, right, he says that all you have to do is it's just recommended to give tzedakah, but that's it. Okay? Next, halacha yud gimel, naflu ritzuot tefillin al haaretz. What happens if the ritzuot fell on the floor? Ritzuot are the straps, right? They fell on the floor. So he says here, and not the actual batim, he says, en tzarich litanot. You don't have to fast whatsoever. Okay, halacha yud gimel says, right, arro'et tefillin shenaflu en chiyuv litanot, which means even though by a sefer Torah, if you see a sefer Torah falling, you should actually fast as well. Not only the person that dropped the sefer Torah, but if you saw it as well. Here, by tefillin, you do not need to fast, right? It's only the person, right? It's only the person that that actually dropped it himself, but not that. Likewise, he says, "Haroeh bechalom." If he sees it in the dream, tefillin that come and fall from his hands, he does not need to do ta'anit. Okay.